A knife is one of humanity's oldest and most useful tools. Consider this. What do you use to slice an apple, open a cardboard box, or prepare your dinner? Chances are, you reach for a knife. At its heart, a knife is a very simple machine, a wedge. It's an inclined plane, or two inclined planes put back to back, designed to concentrate force onto a very small area. This concentration of force is what allows us to push through materials that we couldn't possibly tear with our bare hands. The science behind it is all about pressure. Pressure is force divided by area. By making the cutting edge incredibly thin, we make the area incredibly small, which means even a small amount of force creates immense pressure. But where does the journey of a knife begin? It all starts with the right materials. And for most knives, that means steel. Steel isn't just one thing, it's an alloy, which is a fancy science word for a mixture of metals. The main ingredient is iron, which is an element dug right out of the Earth's crust as iron ore. To turn iron into steel, we add a little bit of carbon. This addition is crucial. The carbon atoms squeeze in between the iron atoms, making the whole structure much stronger and harder. Think of it like adding pebbles to a bucket of sand. It fills the gaps and makes the whole thing more solid and less likely to shift around. Different types of knives require different types of steel. A chef's knife, for example, might be made from a high-carbon stainless steel. The high-carbon part gives it the ability to get incredibly sharp and hold that edge for a long time. The stainless part comes from adding another element, chromium. The chromium acts like a bodyguard for the iron, protecting it from rust and corrosion when it gets wet. Other knives, like those used for camping or survival, might use a tougher, less brittle steel that can withstand chopping and prying without chipping. The choice of steel is the first and most important scientific decision in making a great knife. So, a knife is more than just a sharp piece of metal. It's a carefully engineered tool, born from materials selected for their specific scientific properties. It's a wedge that multiplies force, a structure of iron and carbon atoms arranged for strength, and a testament to how understanding basic chemistry and physics allows us to create things that make our lives easier every single day. The journey from a lump of rock in the ground to the polished, sharp tool in your kitchen drawer is a fantastic example of science in action. It's a process of transformation, taking raw elements and, through heat and force, turning them into a precise and useful instrument. It's pretty amazing, isn't it? Science. Once we have our chosen bar of steel, the next step is to give it the basic shape of a knife. This process is called forging, and it's a spectacular display of physics. The steel is heated in a special oven called a forge until it glows bright red or even orange-yellow. We're talking about temperatures over 1,000 degrees Celsius. At these extreme temperatures, the metal becomes plastic, meaning it's soft and can be molded, a bit like clay. The atoms in the steel are vibrating so energetically that they can slide past one another more easily, allowing the entire structure to be reshaped without breaking. It's a state change, but not from solid to liquid. It's just becoming a very, very malleable solid. With the steel at the right temperature, the knife maker, or blacksmith, places it on a heavy iron block called an anvil. Then, using a hammer, they begin to shape it. Every strike of the hammer is a calculated application of force. The smith hammers the steel to draw it out, making it longer and thinner. They use different parts of the hammer and anvil to create the specific features of the blade. Media group, blacksmith forming knife tip, hammering knife spine, shaping knife features with hammer and anvil stock that distribute equally, the pointy tip, the flat spine, and the tang, which is the part that will eventually go inside the handle. This hammering process, known as stock removal, doesn't just shape the knife. It also refines the grain structure of the steel, aligning the atoms and making it even stronger. This hammering continues in a cycle of heating and striking. The steel cools down quickly in the open air, losing its plasticity, so the blacksmith must repeatedly return it to the forge, to bring it back up to the correct forging temperature. It's a rhythmic dance of fire and force. This method is an ancient art, but it's pure science. The smith is expertly managing the thermal energy and kinetic energy to manipulate the atomic structure of the material. They are, in essence, a sculptor whose medium is not clay or stone, but a glowing hot bar of carefully chosen steel alloy working with the fundamental laws of physics. After many cycles of heating and hammering, the rough shape of the knife is complete. This is called the blade blank. It has the profile of a knife, but it's still thick, covered in a dark scale from the fire, and certainly not sharp. It looks more like a knife-shaped piece of charcoal than a finished tool. But the essential form is there, created by physically rearranging the steel. The next stages will be about refining this rough shape, and most importantly, changing the internal properties of the steel itself to make it hard enough to hold a truly sharp edge. The heavy lifting, or rather, heavy hammering, is done. Now we have a knife-shaped object, but it's still relatively soft. If we tried to sharpen it now, the edge would dull or bend almost instantly. To fix this, we need to make the steel hard, and we do that with a process called heat treatment. This is where the real magic of the carbon we added earlier comes into play. The first step is hardening. The blade is heated evenly in the forge, or a kiln once more, but this time to a very specific temperature, known as the critical temperature. For most carbon steels, this is around 800 degrees Celsius. At this temperature, the carbon atoms dissolve into the iron, creating a special crystal structure called austenite. Once the entire blade reaches this critical temperature, it's time for a rapid cool down, a process called quenching. The glowing hot blade is plunged into a liquid, which is often a special type of oil, though water or even air can be used for different steels. This sudden, dramatic drop in temperature is a huge shock to the steel system. It doesn't have time to cool down slowly and form soft crystals. Instead, the carbon atoms get trapped within the iron structure, creating a new, very hard and brittle crystal structure called martensite. The blade is now incredibly hard, so hard that a file would skate right off it without cutting in. However, there's a problem. While the blade is now extremely hard, it's also as brittle as glass. If you were to drop it or try to bend it even slightly, it could shatter into pieces. A knife that shatters isn't a very useful tool, so we need to trade a little bit of that extreme hardness for some toughness. This next step is called tempering. The hardened blade is gently heated again, but to a much lower temperature, usually between 175 and 300 degrees Celsius. It's held at this temperature for an hour or two, which allows some of the trapped carbon atoms to relax and rearrange themselves just a little bit. This tempering process reduces the brittleness and internal stresses created during the quench, making the blade tougher and more resilient. The knife maker can control the final properties of the blade by carefully controlling the tempering temperature. A lower temperature results in a harder, more wear-resistant edge, perfect for a razor. A slightly higher temperature results in a tougher, more flexible blade, which is better for a heavy-duty chopping knife or a sword. This delicate balance between hardness, the ability to resist being scratched, and toughness, the ability to resist breaking, is the secret to a great blade. It's a scientific trade-off, engineered with fire and precision. After heat treatment, the blade is hard and tough, but it's still not sharp. It's time to create the cutting edge itself. This is done through grinding. The knife maker uses a belt grinder, which is like a fast-moving belt of sandpaper, to remove steel from the sides of the blade. They carefully grind away the material, creating the primary bevels, the long tapering slopes that run from the spine of the knife down to the edge. The angle of this grind is very important. A very thin, acute angle will create a knife that slices incredibly well, but has a delicate edge. A thicker, more obtuse angle will result in a stronger, more durable edge that is better for chopping. The grinding process requires a steady hand and a good eye. as the maker must remove material evenly from both sides to keep the edge centered. They also have to be careful not to overheat the blade. The friction from the grinding belt can generate a lot of heat, and if the temperature gets too high, it can ruin the temper we so carefully established in the previous step, making the edge soft again. That's why you'll often see knife makers dipping the blade in water between passes on the grinder to keep it cool. It's all about managing energy, in this case, the thermal energy created by friction. Once the primary bevels are ground, it's time to create the final microscopic cutting edge, or the secondary bevel. This is the part you actually see when you look very closely at the edge of a sharp knife. This is done using progressively finer abrasives, like sharpening stones or finer grit sanding belts. This process, called honing, refines the V-shape at the very edge, making it smoother and more acute. The goal is to make the two sides of the blade meet at a point so thin it can't be seen with the naked eye. A truly sharp edge is only a few microns thick, which is thinner than a human hair. Finally, the knife might be stropped on a piece of leather, loaded with a very fine polishing compound. This removes any tiny, microscopic burr, a wire of metal clinging to the very tip of the edge, and polishes the edge to a mirror finish. So, what makes a knife cut well? It's the combination of all these steps. The strong, hardened steel provides a solid foundation. The precisely ground geometry of the blade reduces friction and allows it to pass through material easily. And the incredibly fine, honed point concentrates all the user's force onto an infinitesimally small area, creating immense pressure. From raw steel to a scientifically perfected cutting tool, that's the art of knife making.